Good day. I'm doing my assignment 3, my practical for Food 2602. My name is Sumaya Sharaf, and this is a second year module for Food and Nutrition Consumer Science, and my student number is 63895315. Today I'll be preparing a starter, main, and dessert. So for my starter, I'm making carrot soup. For my mains, I'm making orange tarragon chicken. And for my dessert, I'm making a fruit tart. So this is my workstation, my stove, and my oven, where I prepare my ingredients to measure it out. And here I have where my workstation is to make my tarts. I have my ingredients for my fruit tarts, for my pastry and my creams. I have eggs, I have milk, flour, butter, salt. In here I have caster sugar, icing sugar, and corn flour. So I'm using a scale to measure out the flour for my pastry in grams. I am making double the recipe. Pinch of salt, icing sugar, measuring my butter, I'm breaking my egg, and always make sure you wash your hands after touching egg. I want to sift the flour so I can aerate it as well. If there's any lumps, then the lumps of flour are not there, as well as the icing sugar. So I'm going to do that. So I did mention that I am making double the recipe. So I have my flour and my icing sugar and my pinch of salt sifted. I'm going to add in my 100 grams of butter since I'm making double. I'm going to use my fingertips and just gently try and make almost like a breadcrumb texture. Add in my egg, and using my fingertips again, I'm just going to gently mix this through, and I also have extra flour in case it's a bit too sticky. I'm placing my pastry into a Ziploc bag instead of cling film, and I'm going to flatten it down so it has a larger surface area for it to cool quickly in the fridge. So I'm leaving my pastry into the fridge for an hour. So I'm wiping down my surface and I'm using a cloth. So to measure out my fruit tart creme pâtissier, I am using a measuring jug and I need 300 ml. So I need 40 grams of caster sugar. I need 12.5 grams of flour. In my same flour container, I'm also measuring 12.5 grams of corn flour. So I have the ingredients for my creme pâtissier. So as I measured out before, I am going to place milk into the pot, and I'm going to place this pot to come to a boil. So I am going to put this on to come to a boil, and here I have my bowl where I'm going to whisk my sugar and my egg yolks. So I'm going to use a whisk and cream this so that it's a lighter color. I'm going to be adding in my corn flour and flour to my egg yolk and sugar mixture. The recipe says to add all the milk, but I only added half the milk, and I'm going to put it through a sieve just so that if there's any egg bits that cooked up, then it's not going to make my cream lumpy. Back onto the stove to continue cooking for 2 minutes. So I have my mixture cooked and I'm transferring it to The bowl I used previously, I just washed and dried it. So I'm going to transfer this cream mixture into the bowl, and using my cling wrap, I'm going to cover the surface of the cream to prevent it from forming a skin. So now I'm going to be doing my orange chicken tarragon. So I'm going to show you my ingredients. So I have my oil, I have my chicken that I've taken out from the fridge, and I'm going to wash it. I have pasta, which I've chosen as my starch, the tarragon, salt, onions, orange, sour cream, stock, corn flour, and I've chosen mushrooms as a veg, as well as some red onions as the veg for the orange tarragon chicken. I'm using a scale to measure out my butter for the chicken. I have made up my stock, and because I'm using double the recipe, I'm using 500 milliliters of stock, chicken stock. To measure my oil, I'm using a quarter measuring cup, which is 60 ml, and then what I'll do is I'll take out 2 teaspoons to make it 50 ml of oil. I prefer to measure the oil directly into my pot that I'm using. I'm using a tablespoon measure to measure out my corn flour. For my tarragon, dried tarragon, I'm using a tablespoon and 1 teaspoon to make up 20 ml, since I'm doubling the recipe. I am going to be juicing my orange. So I have my orange that I washed, and I just got my clean chopping board. You can use a green or white one. So I'm gonna cut my orange in half, and using my juicer, I'm gonna juice the orange. My onion needs to be finely chopped, so I'm gonna cut off the ends. So I'm using the same board that I used for the orange, since it's a vegetable, and I'm gonna peel my onion, take out all the skins, and I just have a little bowl here so that I can collect all my wastage to place in the bin. So I want to finely chop the onion, so I'm going to be chopping it making sure my fingers are safe. So you can see So I am now going to saute my chicken. So I've got the pan on, so I've got the heat on high, and I'm melting down my butter and my oil so that I can saute my chicken. So I have my chicken here that I've washed and my pan. So I'm going to place my chicken down so it can get sauteed. So sauteing means that you are like frying it on high heat in your fat, and I want it to be like a brownish color. So I'm just checking, and I'm going to turn the chicken on, and I've placed my onions to saute so it can brown and become translucent as well, so the sweetness of the onion flavor can come out. And then I'm going to place my chicken back into my pot to fully cook. Whilst my onions are sauteing, I want to chop my mushrooms for my veg part so I can saute the mushrooms. So I've just cut my onion into 4 pieces, and I'm just going to peel the layers apart, and I'm going to saute this with my mushrooms, and I'm just going to cut my mushrooms into 4 pieces like so it's chopped with the stems off. My onions have browned, so now I'm adding in my chicken stock. I'm adding in my orange juice. I'm adding in my dried tarragon. I want to boil my pasta, so I've added some water to a pot that I've already boiled, and I'm going to bring the water to a bubbling point so it's boiling. What I have happening here is my orange tarragon sauce with the onions and sauteed is coming to a boil. Here I have a pan with oil and butter that's going to be to saute my onions and my mushrooms for my veg pot. Here I have some water that's coming to the boil for my pasta, which is my starch. So now I'm going to add my chicken back to the pot. Added my chicken and I'm going to place a lid on. I'm going to reduce the heat so that it's a simmer. So a simmer is where it is going to go down. A simmer is where it's small little bubbles that are just going to the surface. And I'm going to put my timer on for 30 minutes because I want to take out my chicken breast first so it doesn't overcook, and then another 15 minutes for the rest of it to cook. That will make 45 minutes. My onions and my mushrooms have sauteed nicely. So I was not happy with the color of my chicken. So I've taken out my onions and mushroom and I've put my chicken back on this high heat so that it has a nice brown color, and I'll add it back to the pot where it has simmered. I've also added some of the chicken liquid to deglaze my pan. So I've removed the chicken and I've skimmed off the excess fat. Now I'm adding in my corn flour slurry to thicken my sauce, and I'm going to put that on to boil. Add in my fresh cream. Since it's already measured, I'm not going to be measuring it out, and I'm making double the recipe, so 250 is perfect. I said fresh cream, I meant to say sour cream. So I'm going to plate up my mains. So I have my plate here. I'm going to take my pasta and scoop it around. So about 40 grams uncooked pasta is a good measurement for adults. So I'm going to take my sauce and pour it over side, and I'm going to choose at least 2 pieces for plating reasons. My veg, which is what we're going to be placing along the side, because I still have some tarragon that is showing on my chicken, and that is my main meal. So I'm going to take some chicken and some of the sauce as well as the pasta and taste it. I do actually like it. I do think that I did add a little bit less orange juice. I think it needs a little bit more orange juice in it, but my chicken is cooked where it's nice and soft and the texture is good, as well as my pasta is also al dente. So I've cleared my workstation from my chicken mains. Now I'm going to go on to my starter, which is my carrot soup. So I have my pot here for the soup, and I have my ingredients which I'm going to measure and chop up. I have my carrots, my onion, my stock. I needed vegetable stock, but I'm using chicken stock. I have butter, I have milk, salt. I'm using black pepper instead of white pepper. I also have my utensils that I'm going to be needing, and my scale. Then I also have my ingredients prepped for my bechamel sauce. So I'm going to be using my butter, my flour, the milk from my carrot stuff, the clove, nutmeg, I have powder and I have it whole, bay leaf, salt, white pepper, which I'm going to be using black pepper, and I also have my pots available as well as my utensils that I'll be straining my bechamel sauce with. So for my cream of carrot soup, I need butter. So I've measured out, I need 12.5 grams. So I've rounded it off to 13 grams. So I'm going to now use my peeler and peel my carrots. So for peeling my carrots, I'm going to use the peeler, and I've also made sure to wash my carrots as well as my chopping board so that it is clean. So for my roux, for my bechamel sauce, I need 12.5 grams of flour, which I'm measuring with a. So for my bechamel sauce, I have my pot here with my onion, and I want to measure out 250 mLs of milk, which is 1 cup. And I'm adding a clove, and I'm adding 1 bay leaf as well, and I'm going to place it on the stove. So I have my bechamel sauce on my milk, as well as I'm sweating my onion now for the soup part. So I'm placing my onions in where I place my butter and carrots that I diced, and then I'm gonna let this sweat. So sweat is where you want it on a low heat, and you want it until it's soft and translucent. So the onions will be like soft. So you can see my onions and carrots are sweating. My milk has scaled, meaning that I brought it up to above 85 degrees. So it's quite heated, and you can see it rose, and that's like the part where you can see it rose, and now it's just infusing on very low heat, and I'm going to start with my bechamel roux. So I have measured 200 mLs of stock in a measuring jug, and I'm going to place it into my sweated vegetables and let that cook till it's tender. For my roux, I have melted down my butter, and I have my flour, 12.5 grams ready, as well as my sieve ready, so that I can sieve the milk from that's infusing. So I'm going to melt the butter and then add the flour. I've added milk, so I've added my milk, and I use a strainer to catch the ingredients. Now I'm whisking quickly so that no lumps form, and I want my bechamel sauce nice and shiny and lump free. And for my nutmeg, I'm using a measuring spoon, and I need 1.25 mLs of nutmeg, which I'm going to add to my cooked bechamel. I've added the bechamel sauce to my stock with vegetables, with my carrot vegetables for the cream of carrot soup. I'm going to let it simmer for about 10 minutes. So because it is getting late and my family will want supper, so I brought the pastry out. So I have my pastry, I have a cutter. This is for my sweet pastry fruit tart. I have a cutter, I have some tart tins, a rolling pin, a little palette knife to smoothen off my tart tins, and some flour in case I need. So the pastry is firm, and I'm just going to knead it together. So I don't want to overwork it, because then it's not going to set properly. So if I need some flour, I can, but because I have a non-stick rolling mat, I won't need too much flour. So I want to roll it out evenly, about 3 to 4 millimeters. So thickness. Then I'm going to take my cutter, and I'm going to cut a circle. I'm going to take my pastry tin, place my pastry inside the tin, and then just gently press it down, and making sure the sides are also gently pressed. I'm going to use my little palette knife and just cut off the excess. All my tarts in the freezer so that the pastry can cool down quickly, and then I'm going to bake it in the oven for 180. My mains and my starters is ready, and now I want to switch on my oven. My soup is ready, and I'm heating my cream, so I use 60 ml instead, because 35 ml was a bit difficult to beat. So I have my soup here, which I want to serve up. So I'm gonna serve roughly about 3/4 cup, so I'm using just under 1 cup of syrup, which I'm just set up. So I did syrup and sipped it, and now I'm going to set it up, and I'm going to place some of my cream that I like to eat on top. I've added some chives as garnish, and then I've taken some brown seeded bread and placed some Parmesan cheese on top and toasted it in my oven whilst my oven was warm. And then I used a blowtorch and blowtorch the Parmesan on top, and I'm going to place it on the side as something to dip. So I'm going to taste it now. So I want to mix it first. So I just warmed it up lightly. I did not boil it. So I'm gonna put some here. I'm actually very amazed. The soup tastes very, very nice. My oven is at 180 degrees Celsius and it is hot, and my tarts are cold. I've put a cupcake liner and some rice to bake blind so that my pastry doesn't shrink. So I'm gonna place it into the oven. So now I'm going to prepare the fruits for my fruit tart while the tarts are baking. So I'm firstly going to cut my orange. So I want to use a serrated knife and cut off the ends to cut down here. So now that I have my orange, I'm going to use my serrated knife and carefully just cut out segments. So I'm going to go in between the membranes and I'm going to get a segment. Now I'm going to use my paring knife and just take out the eye of the kiwi, and then make a gentle slit along the skin. Using my tablespoon, I'm gonna go under the skin where I made the slit, and I'm just gonna go all around the kiwi. And you can see it's nice and smooth. And then I'm going to slice my kiwi. So I just want to take off this bit where the eyes were, and I'm gonna make thin slices. Maybe I may need it in half, so I'm gonna cut it in half, and I'm going to transfer it onto my plate. I have blueberries that I'm keeping whole, and then the strawberries I'm just going to take the stems off. So I'm just going to use my paring knife and cut off the stem like that, and then cut it in half. So I want to make my fruit glaze for my fruit tarts. I have my corn flour, apricot jam, sugar and water, and my measuring utensils, my pot and my whisk. So I want 25 ml of sugar. So I'm going to use a tablespoon, and then I'm going to use 2 teaspoons. I'm measuring all my ingredients in one pot, and then I need 50 ml of water. So I'm going to be using 3 tablespoons and 1 teaspoon to make 50 ml. My jam, I need 1 teaspoon, so I'm going to use a teaspoon measure and add it there, and then I need 1 ml more to make it 6 ml. And then I'm going to be needing 3 ml of corn flour and a table. I use a 2.5 ml measuring spoon, and I just put a pinch more to make it 3 ml. I've mixed the corn flour with the 1 tablespoon of water, and then I'm going to put this on to heat up on the stove. So I do have the heat on, and I want to reduce this to 25 ml. And I have my 3 tarts here. I have my fruit that I previously chopped up. I put my pastry cream into a bag, so I'm not baking my pastry cream again because I cooked it fully. So it's quite thick and it has cooked through as a custard cream should be. So I'm not going to fill it all the way to the top. I just want to make sure that it's level because I still need some space for my fruit to fit in. So I'm going to use the fruit that I previously chopped up and place that there. And then in the middle here, I'm putting the blueberries, so my pastry cream is mostly covered up. And so I have my glaze that I reduced down, and I'm just going to lightly brush over my fruit, protect it from browning and drying out, and also it gives it quite a nice shine. And then I'm just going to give that a few minutes to completely set. Now that it has settled, I'm going to take my chocolate cigars that I make because I work with chocolate, and I'm just slightly going to place it there. And I've kept it very simple with the garnishing, and I'm going to take a bite. It has a nice short texture, and the cream and the fruit work quite well together.